What is Ivan Kupala Day most often associated with in Russia? Some may think of girls jumping over the fire and shining their hair, or people bathing and enjoying the comforts of love. While there is some truth to these associations, they only scratch the surface of what this holiday meant in ancient times. Let's discuss this topic in the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay updated on new videos. Also, your likes would be greatly appreciated as they help with the development of the channel. Thank you. The holiday of Ivan Kupala was celebrated on the night of June 23rd to 24 according to the Julian calendar. However, due to the switch to the Gregorian calendar, the holiday is now celebrated on the night of July 6th to 7. This night is considered the shortest of the year. According to Slavic tradition, fire, water, and grass were believed to acquire magical properties on this day. Girls would start making wreaths, and guys would make scarecrows using straw and branches. Typically, two effigies were made, one of Kupala and one of Marena. Marena symbolized death and the withering of nature, while Kupala was a symbol of abundance and new life. The effigies were placed in the center of the meadow, and people would dance round dances around them while singing various songs about the changing of seasons. After the roundelays, the dolls could be burned or thrown into the nearest lake, while the feast continued. The closer to the beginning of the Middle Ages, the more terrifying the rituals could become. For instance, if the year was dry, then on the holiday of Ivan Kupala, effigies of real dead men could be drowned or graves could be watered instead. What does the drowning of an effigy or a dead man symbolize? According to various historians, this ritual is similar to a sacrifice, but without the sacrifice of a living person. In ancient times, these rites were practiced and typically involved sacrificing beautiful girls or boys to placate water spirits. Some believe that the climate in ancient Russia was different from what it is today, with wetter and warmer conditions. As a result, rivers may have been inhabited by predatory fish and even reptiles, which were believed to enjoy the sacrifices. A bonfire was almost always a central feature of this holiday, as people believed that the fire had a cleansing effect and was imbued with magic on that night. Young people would line up to jump over the fire, while girls, often wearing sundresses, added to the festive atmosphere. Couples in love were expected to hold hands and jump over the bonfire together. If the couple successfully completed the trick of not separating their hands while jumping over the fire, it was believed that they would live happily ever after. If a girl who was alone was unable to jump over the blazing fire due to fear or any other reason, she could be accused of being a witch. However, the punishment for such accusations was relatively humane compared to the treatment of witches in Europe. The accused girl would be doused with cold water or whipped naked with nettles in public. The villagers burned all old and unnecessary items, cleansing themselves of unnecessary energy. They also knew interesting ways to increase the fertility of the land and improve the harvest. In front of everyone, some villagers stripped down to their bare skin, as the nakedness of an unmarried young girl was considered a symbol of purity and innocence of nature. In front of everyone, some villagers stripped down to their bare skin, as the nakedness of an unmarried young girl was considered a symbol of purity and innocence of nature. In front of everyone, some villagers stripped down to their bare skin, as the nakedness of an unmarried young girl was considered a symbol of purity and innocence of nature. However, a pregnant or married woman without clothes was seen as a symbol of fertility. In ancient times, nudity was associated with fertility and was common during crop sowing. Spouses would often sow crops naked and engage in sexual activity in the fields. While this may seem shocking by today's standards, it was a common practice. It is important to note that this behavior is not acceptable in modern times and should not be practiced in public spaces. Although it may seem unbelievable, in the past, some believed that for a good yield of onions, a woman had to put her genitals on the bed, while for a good yield of flax it was enough to sit with her bare heel on the bed. This was a simple scheme that, according to some, doubled the harvest. It was strictly forbidden to have intercourse during sowing, as it was believed that even if a husband touched his undressed wife during sowing, the harvest would be meager. Women who were menstruating or had recently given birth were not allowed to work in the fields because it was believed that their presence could interfere with the harvest due to their perceived impurity during this time. Pregnant women were trusted to plant fruits, but they had to do so without clothes. It is important for pregnant women to avoid overexertion and hypothermia. Even evil spirits, demons, and wild animals that could threaten a person were expelled with a naked body. This was because evil spirits are afraid of male and female power, specifically the male reproductive organ and female cleavage. Consider the image: a sick man, visited by a young girl who kneels before him, maximizes the opening, and stands like that for several minutes. When an unknown disease was spreading in a neighboring village, the villagers would take measures to protect their own village from the epidemic. One such measure involved having young women walk in circles around the village. This was an ancient custom that was also practiced on the day of Kupala. Another custom involved a young woman having intercourse with a man dressed in a bearskin. The surrounding people could quietly observe the bear as it calmed down and ran whistling into the forest, favoring the spirits of wild nature. Girls and women would often run through the forest at night in their regular clothing. To promote fertility during Kupala Day, residents of neighboring villages would organize the so-called swalny sin. The statement implies that a man could easily take possession of a woman he desired, even if she was married and her husband was present. While it was theoretically possible for a woman to refuse such advances, in practice it was rare for anyone to take that risk. Refusal could lead to crop failure in the neighboring village, and the woman who refused could be punished by having her vegetable garden destroyed and her animals released from their pen. During a ritual where a man would ram his wife in front of a cheering crowd singing songs of fertility, the process would inevitably end with the man ejaculating inside the woman. If the woman became pregnant, it was considered a good sign, and the child was said to have the spirit of Kupala. Many Slavic traditions were adopted from Scandinavian peoples. Nowadays, the custom of swalnego sin is unlikely to be found in neighboring villages. Instead, they prefer to use fertilizers and abundant watering to promote fertility. During the swala sin, no one was embarrassed by each other. Everyone indulged in consolation, and it was a completely normal process. It was not uncommon for a man from the neighboring village to be with his wife, and as a result, the birth rate in neighboring villages increased after 9 months. As time passed, such mass festivities became less pronounced. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel.